Welcome back to part 2 of our Tuesday tours here at the Onslow County Museum. We've been walking you through the water and the wood, and now we're going to take a little bit of a travel time to journey through early settlement. We want you to know that we based this exhibit on the most commonly asked questions that we get from museum visitors. So when we began this process now 25 years ago, people said, so who were those first people to settle this place after the Native Americans? Why did they come here and what kept them here? Well, you're looking at reason number 1. These waterways, the White Oak River, the New River, the proximity to the ocean makes this an ideal place to settle, but also a little bit of a treacherous place to settle. We have to remember that accessing these waterways also meant coming in through these inlets that could have churning currents. It's not always easy, but this is how the first settlers are going to come here to Onslow County. You know, it's said that North Carolina as a colony was a colony of other colonists. These are peoples who came from other colonies to call this place home. And let's find out, where did they come from? So if we think about these first settlers who come here to Onslow County now more than 300 years ago in 1713, let's talk a little bit about where did they come from. Well, first things first, North Carolina is a British colony, and so the earliest of settlers would have come from one other British colony, such as Massachusetts and Virginia, but it also would have come from people from the British Isles. England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales are all represented in Onslow County's early settlers. We also have settlers who are French Huguenots. These are folks who escaped from France, coming here, migrating here, to escape religious persecution. We also have people who are coming here from Germany, who are coming first into New Bern as part of the Swiss colony that occurs there, and then down through from Craven County, what would be now Craven County, into Onslow County. And finally, those folks who came here not as settlers of their own free will, but those African slaves who were brought here at the will of someone else. All of these communities, all of these populations of people with all of these different imagining languages and ideas, motivations, and kind of forces that bring them here will build what we today call Onslow County. So if we move along just a little bit, we do have to build a county. We have to bring it out of the forest. Of course, I always, when we have tour groups here, remind especially students to think about so much forested land that even in the daytime, there were so many trees, there were areas that the sunlight might not penetrate. So if water is one reason for coming here, certainly trees are another force, another reason for bringing people here. And specifically, one type of tree, the longleaf pine. That longleaf pine is instrumental to our story. Why might you ask? Well, longleaf pine are rich in sap, and that sap we don't put on our pancakes. We use that sap for creating naval stores, tar, pitch, turpentine, these resinous, sticky substances that are used for ship construction. Want to know why we're Tar Heels? Just look at the longleaf pine. So we've got the water, we've got forested land, and this area has been opened up for settlement so that new people can move in. What's that third resource that's here that might draw people? Well, certainly soil. This is going to be an area where also we can have farming, so that rich soil that will allow families to make their home here. Now, this is the type of home that our early settlers might have lived in. Sometimes when we think of early settlement, our mind tends to go to log cabins, but that is not the architectural tradition here. We build coastal cottages. These coastal cottages are key to living in our kind of climate. One, it's hot, it's humid. Very rarely do we see any kind of snow. So we have this simple roofline structure. It's built because, remember where we said most of our settlers came from the British Isles? This is similar to the building tradition in the British Isles, but also from New England, where a lot of our settlers would have come from. They would have borrowed that style of architecture. Then they would have mashed it up a little bit. Because our settlers are trading in the Caribbean, they see Caribbean-style cottages in places like Barbados. You mix those two architectural styles together, and you get a Carolina country cottage where early settlers might have lived. Now, simple homes, not complex, not a lot of rooms. Really, you're doing all of your living basically in one space. The items that you see here are representative of what life might have looked like in early 18th century Onslow County. Center to everything is the fireplace, the table where a lot of activity would have taken place, and certainly this is where your family is congregating and living together. Now, we talked a lot about us being a British colony. That comes with some problems because as we're here from 1713 up through the 1750s, as a British colony, we're growing and growing along with the other colonies for many different reasons, The country would decide that it would be time to separate. Primarily among those, we have no voice in our government. We want representation. We've all heard the phrase, no taxation without representation, central to this story. Onslow County, or Onslow Precinct, was no different. The colony of North Carolina, no different, and we led the way. Onslow Countyans, as we will learn later on in our Tour with Tuesdays, will help be part of that rebellion that would lead to the birth of the United States. And we invite you next time to visit us with Tour with our Tuesdays to learn more.